Going in the wrong direction. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. And as you see there, I went 2-2 in my predictions for the NFL playoff games that happened this past weekend, the divisional games. And let's give you a little bit of a breakdown of my reaction to the games. We're going to start with New Orleans and San Francisco. I'll just start, of course, with the ones that I got wrong. I predicted a New Orleans win on the road in San Francisco. I knew it was a bit of a risky one, but there you go. That's just the kind of guy I am this week. I predicted a New Orleans victory. It didn't quite work out. San Francisco won this game 36-32. Thoughts on the game? It was a shootout for sure, but it was not the kind of shootout that I predicted. I said in the previous video that this was the most dangerous game for the Saints because it was a game on the road, on real turf, not real turf, real grass, I should say, and I thought that the Saints actually ended up playing a really good game. The defense obviously didn't play great. They gave up 36 points, but they did have, I believe it was, what was it? I've got it written here, 4 sacks and forced 2 fumbles. And Drew Brees threw for 460-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. So New Orleans did play well in this game. They also had 3 receivers that had at least 100 yards receiving. I said in the previous video that San Francisco's run game, that the advantage that San Francisco had in the run game was overstated. Turns out that this game proved that it wasn't overstated. San Francisco ran the ball 22 times for 143 yards and a touchdown. New Orleans ran the ball 14 times for 37 yards. Ouch. I said that in order for San Francisco to win this game, they needed Frank Gore. They needed Frank Gore to put up huge numbers. Gore had a good game, ran the ball 13 times for, it was 89 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but had a good game. 13 rushes for 89 yards is good numbers across the board. But obviously they didn't need him to win the game because, well, they won the game. And I said that I didn't think San Francisco was going to have much of a pass game. Oops. Alex Smith had the game of his career. 24 for 42, 299 yards with 3 touchdowns. Most of that action going to Vernon Davis, who had 7 receptions for a phenomenal 180 yards and 2 of those 3 touchdowns. Huge game for Vernon Davis. And a huge game for Alex Smith. Like, you know, it can't be overstated how big a game this was for Alex Smith. Is Alex Smith maybe the next superstar at this position, the next guy to get up into that upper echelon of quarterbacks? I know for a while some fans in San Francisco had been calling for a new quarterback, and after this game, I think they're going to be quite happy to stick with the one that they have. Drew Brees attempted 63 passes in the game, which is just, his shoulder had to be burnt at the end of the game. Like, it had to be completely blown up. And with those 63, there was 105 total pass attempts in the game because Alex Smith attempted 42. So this was definitely a pass-first game, which, again, was not what I expected to see, certainly from San Francisco. San Francisco's defense had 5 takeaways in the game. That was a big story, especially early on in the game. Their forced fumbles and the interceptions. They had 5 takeaways. Good on San Francisco's defense. And I wrote this down specifically just because I wanted to make sure I got the wording right of exactly what I wanted to say to sum up this game. No one could have predicted that in a game where Frank Gore does not score, Drew Brees throws 4 touchdowns, San Francisco only gets 3 sacks, goes 4 for 15 on 3rd down. That's San Francisco. And where New Orleans has 0 penalties through the whole game, no one could have predicted that San Francisco would win that game. And anybody that tells you any differently, that they predicted that they would have predicted that if all these things happened, San Francisco would still win the game, you have my permission to shoot them in the face because they're lying right through their teeth. Good on San Francisco. Moving on to the NFC Championship game, where they will play the New York Giants. The other game this week that I got wrong. Sorry, NFC. The New York Giants walked into Lambeau Field and put a whooping on the Green Bay Packers. 37-20. In the previous video, I said that I thought this game was going to be quite similar to their game in Week 13, a game that the Packers won 38-35, where they had pretty much a complete team effort to win that game. Their offense clicking on all cylinders is not exactly what happened in this game. Aaron Rodgers threw 20 incomplete passes. That's as many as 2 full games of Tim Tebow's completions. 20 incomplete passes, you don't see it from Aaron Rodgers. That's not a game that Aaron Rodgers has. There was no danger whatsoever in the Packers' run game, and the Giants just held their whole offense in check. They really did. I thought the Giants' defense was going to play good, but that it wasn't going to be good enough to stop Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers' total line here, 26 for 46, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He added on 66 yards rushing. He was actually the Packers' most dangerous running threat for the whole game. They're not bad numbers, but for Aaron Rodgers, they're underwhelming, especially, like I said, those 20 incompletions. That's just not a game that you see from Aaron Rodgers. I postulated and I posed the question in the last video about whether or not any of these teams could stop the pass. The Giants, for their part, did give up those 264 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. But that was certainly a far cry better than they did in Week 13. Certainly better numbers, and caused quite a number of Rodgers' incompletions. There were a number of drops, but the Giants put pressure on him and caused quite a number of those incompletions. Whereas Green Bay, once again, gave up 330 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. So basically had the same performance that they did in the Week 13 game. I also said you can't sleep on Eli Manning, and what did he do? He went out there and he had a repeat performance. 330 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. A repeat performance of the game in Week 13. Only this time, it was good enough to win. And I said that the Giants were going to outrun them. That they were going to outrun the Packers. Which was true, except for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had the 2nd most rushing yards in the game. But if you're talking just straight up Giants running backs versus Packers running backs, the Giants definitely outran them. My thoughts on the game: this was the Packers' worst game of the season, and it came at the worst possible time, where if you lose one, you don't get another one. So it was very clearly the worst team effort that they had all year. A couple of standouts for you from the Giants defense. We'll start with Osi Umenyiora. Osi Umenyiora on the defensive line that I've talked about and praised so much. 2 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Very good game for Osi. Michael Boley. He's an outside linebacker for the Giants. 7th year man, I think. He's been in the league 7 years. 9 tackles and 2 sacks. This is a guy who only had 1 sack all season. His tackle numbers were very high. I think he had 93. But 9 tackles and 2 sacks. For him to get through and get to Aaron Rodgers twice from the linebacker position, a very good game and a force for the Giants on defense. The Giants picked up obviously 37 points in the game on only 19 first downs. They only had 19 first downs through the whole game. And basically what that means was their scoring plays were on big plays. It wasn't this sort of chip away and get 4 or 5 first downs on a drive and then take it down and score from short yardage. Their scores were, in general, all from quite a bit of yardage. Hakeem Nicks had 2 touchdown catches in the game. His 2 touchdown catches came from 66 yards and 37 yards. So both of those touchdown catches coming from outside of the red zone. Brandon Jacobs, as well, had a 14-yard touchdown run. So their scoring plays in general were all longer plays. So to get that many points on less than 20 first downs in the whole game, that's an offense that's not afraid to go deep. And the Packers' defense relies on turnovers. This was said all throughout the build-up to the game, that their defense relies on turnovers, and they only had one, a Morgan Burnett interception. And that's it. They didn't force any fumbles. They could only pick up the one interception, and Eli Manning just picked them apart pretty well the entire game. And that is that, as they say, is that. We will not have a repeat Super Bowl champion. The Packers are out the door. Giants moving on to the NFC Championship game. Pop over to the AFC, where I was slightly more successful. We'll start with Houston and Baltimore. This was a phenomenal game. A phenomenal game of two of the best defenses in football. Final score, Baltimore 20, Houston 13. So I was correct. Yay! In saying Baltimore was going to win this game. In the previous video, I said the combined health of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed was going to be huge in this game, and that their health was likely going to determine the outcome. Ray Lewis, 8 tackles on the game. He was all over the place. And Ed Reed, by all rights, should have had 3 interceptions in this game. Ed Reed is the very definition of a ball hawk. It's like as soon as someone against Baltimore throws up a pass, Ed Reed just stops everybody else on the defense and goes, yo, I got this. Ed Reed was all over the place in this game. Had 6 tackles. He had 1 interception. By all rights, he should have had 3. He dropped a couple ones that he should have caught. But Ed Reed's a monster. What a great game. I said the Baltimore can and will run the ball. They had 31 rushes for 87 yards. Not great numbers. I actually thought they would do quite a bit better. But then again, they were facing one of the top 5 defenses in the league. So, you know, what do you say? I said that Houston wasn't going to pressure Falco. Wouldn't pressure Joe Flacco. I was wrong there too. 5 sacks and a forced fumble off of Flacco in the game. I said that the Ravens were going to stop Arian Foster. They didn't. 27 rushes, 132 yards, and a touchdown. I said that they were going to double-team Andre Johnson. Didn't happen. 8 catches for 111 yards for Andre Johnson. I said that Baltimore was going to win this game fairly handily, and they didn't. My predictions were just, I don't know. They were off a little bit, but this was a phenomenal game, and it's summed up by what Ray Lewis said in the locker room after the game. He said, no one holds a 4-point lead like the Baltimore Ravens, and that's absolutely true. The first half of this game looked like it was going to be a shootout. It was, I believe, 17-13 going into halftime, and I was like, wow, 30 points in this game already. Holy crap. I took the under, and I feel like an idiot. In the second half, there was 1 field goal. That's it. Field goal for the Ravens, and that was the only scoring in the second half. The second half especially displayed how good these two defenses are. Just phenomenal. The D on both sides were bend but don't break. And that was exactly how they played the second half of the game, where you only had a field goal coming up and scoring. Huge games for a couple of rookies in there, both on Houston's defense. J.J. Watt, rookie on the defensive line, 12 total tackles and 2.5 sacks. Huge game. Brooks Reed, a linebacker for Houston, 8 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Monstrous game. Both of those guys are rookies. Everybody talks about Brian Cushing on Houston's defense. What about these guys? J.J. Watt and Brooks Reed. If they can keep this core together, Houston's going to have a damn good defense for years to come. Ladarius Webb, cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens. 2 interceptions, 1 on a pass to Andre Johnson, 1 on a pass to Kevin Walter. And there was a couple of decisions there where it was just T.J. Yates deciding, I'm going to throw the ball to this guy and I don't care what anybody else says, and Ladarius Webb just picking up on it, picking the ball off, twice. And just a big up to Houston's defense. Houston played a phenomenal game on defense, matched by the Ravens, 20-13. Ravens win the game. Very happy. I'm very close to saying that the Baltimore Ravens are my team, but I'm not quite there yet. Baltimore moving on to the AFC Championship game to face the New England Patriots. I was correct in saying New England was going to win this game, 45-10. Just a dominant victory for the Patriots. In the previous video, I said it could potentially be another big game for Demaryius Thomas for Denver. Had a pretty good game, 6 catches for 93 yards. I mean, that's really good yardage for sure. I also said don't sleep on Eddie Royal. He only had 2 catches for 25 yards because, he's got a running back throwing him the football, but that's okay. I said it was probably going to be a big game for Wes Welker. Wes Welker had a pretty pedestrian line by Wes Welker standards. 6 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And I also said that I thought Denver was going to be able to run on the Patriots, and they did. They put up another really good game on the ground. 40 rush attempts, 144 yards and a touchdown. But I also said the Patriots are going to be able to do whatever they want on offense. And did they ever? Tom Brady's line, 26 for 34, 363 yards, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. Touchdown throws to 4 different receivers for Tom Brady. Rushing, the Patriots, 30 rushes for 146 yards. They rushed with a tight end. They put Aaron Hernandez there in the backfield, had 5 carries for 61 yards. Aaron Hernandez was dangerous on the ground. And the Pats are great at this. Great at taking a guy like Julian Edelman, or taking a guy like Aaron Hernandez, Danny Woodhead, taking these guys, putting them in the backfield, and making it dangerous. I don't know, but they proved that they could do whatever they want. I said that Denver needed to both protect the ball and control the clock, and the 2 things they did fairly well. They only had 2 fumbles, they only lost 1 of them, and they won time of possession, 33 minutes 23 seconds to 26 minutes 37 seconds. So they definitely controlled in time of possession, and they helped the ball. They controlled the ball. They weren't making stupid decisions and turning the ball over. But when the Patriots did have the ball, they did whatever they wanted to do. My thoughts on the game. Tim Tebow. This is the only thing I'll say about Tim Tebow. You cannot go out there, complete 1 out of every 3 pass attempts you throw, and expect to even compete in a playoff game, much less win it. This game was just proof positive of how far Tim Tebow needs to come in order to be a very good NFL quarterback. But enough about Tebow. The Gronk, Rob Gronkowski. Is there a better tight end in football than Rob Gronkowski? 3 touchdown catches in this game. Just a fucking monster. This guy is just, he is dangerous. And not only is there no better single tight end in football, Jimmy Graham's close, but there's no better single tight end in football, and there's no better tight end tandem in football than Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. And they're both only 22. If the Patriots can hold on to these guys, they're going to be set at that position for at least 10 years, which is phenomenal. Tom Brady, 6 touchdown passes and a punt inside the 20. Sign this guy up. You don't need this Zoltan Mesko guy if Tom Brady is punting for a 48-yard average and dropping it inside the 20. Sign him up. Give him an extra $400,000 a year to do the punting duties as well. That was hilarious. Tom Brady just boom, sending that punt away on 3rd down. That was great. And just a complete team game for the Patriots. They sacked Tim Tebow 5 times. They were only penalized twice in the game for 20 yards. And there were 5 out of 6 in the red zone. The Patriots played the kind of game in this game that I expected to see from the Packers in the Giants game. Only difference being they're playing a much better team in the Giants. But just a complete game for the Patriots. Going on to the AFC Championship. We got 2 phenomenal championship games. I cannot wait. Prediction video is going to come in a couple of days once I get my head back around this stuff. I'm Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Follow, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I will see you later this week.